we shot it in, you probably have heard, 23 days. So it was just this insanely short schedule. There was no other coverage than what you see in the movie, nothing else. So single shot scenes had to work, or the scene would either have to be cut out of sooner, or we'd have to cut the scene. There was no net. We just did it, we were just like, okay, this is how we're gonna do it. I'm gonna rely on these performances. Critics took note of what I was doing, starting with Superstar. Superstar was a film I'd never shown a film anywhere before Superstar. I had no expectation of it having any kind of life. And all of a sudden we hear back from Jay Hoberman, who's the lead critic for The Village Voice, Barbara Kruger, the artist who was writing on film for Art Forum, and other critics. Hoberman made it the lead story, the lead review in the weekly Village Voice over all the features that were out that week or whatever. Made Superstar the focus. And in 1987, if you had a review from Jay Hoberman in the Village Voice overnight, every contemporary art center and repertory theater in the country wanted to show your film. That's the impact that film criticism had at that time.
Yeah.
So it changed my life overnight. But because of that, we were able to get grants for Poison. And then critics took an interest in Poison. And then when we made Safe, critics didn't know quite what to make of Safe initially. But critics were so conscientious and so committed that they went back and they watched Safe again. And they had discussions about it within that year. And by the end of the 90s, there was a Village Voice critics poll with 60 or 70 critics of the country, and they voted Safe the best film of the 90s. So my career would not have happened without Christine Vachon, that perseverance, the critical culture of film journalists and critics, and the fact that actors were interested in doing different kinds of work. And we found Julianne Moore in that 2-year span trying to get financing for Safe. And I found this creative counterpart in an actor, in Julianne, that was a miracle.
When Todd starts shooting the film, he doesn't like to watch dailies. So I'm cutting and watching. I think just me and Kelly Reich are the two that sort of Todd's eyes and ears of the...
And the DP.
Why don't you look at the dailies?
Because, I peek at them, but I don't want to leave the liquid stage of being in production and shooting. And I'm watching every shot as it's happening and going through the monitor, and everything is conscious, of course. When I see it done, I don't want to go there yet. So I inaugurate a very specific break where so Fonzie is looking at dailies and he's doing an assembly and getting to know the material ahead of me. But I can't look at what he did until I'm done, I've wrapped, I've taken a tiny break, and then I sit in my bed, usually, and just watch all the dailies.
In your bed?
Yeah.
You stay in bed for days?
And I write hundreds of pages of notes.
You're removed from it now and you can analyze it.
I'm in the dark, I'm alone, I'm watching it. And I'm writing my notes to Fonzie. And Fonzie's doing that himself. Yeah. And I'm doing that myself. Yeah. What we do find is that the selects that attract us are very often the same ones.
Yeah.
Sammy Birch wrote this script, first movie produced. So tell us your first reaction to the script.
What I think is the most ingenious thing about Sammy's script is the structure and the sense of the temporal structure of it, where she sets it all 20 years after the tabloid event. And so there's all these distances set in that you have to navigate, that it becomes the role of the actress to navigate. But really it's the audience, or in the case initially, the reader, who is grappling with their own presumptions about where this story is going. And it keeps you uncomfortable in a way that trusts the reader and trusts that sense of not knowing, which I find to be so rare in today's, the kind of scripts that we see in the movies that get made. The subtext, the film is all about what isn't said. The film is all about what people can't see in themselves, that we're there to be reading into and filling in the gaps of. All of these repetitions are being played out throughout the film. And so there's all these Joes. There's Charles Melton now in the movie. But then there's the images of Charles in the tabloid of him as a child. Then there's the son, Charlie, who's a version of Joe. Then there's the boy in the TV movie. Then there's the boys being auditioned who aren't too old enough. Then there's the final boy then there's the kids in the high school scene. All these examples. And then there's like dual women who are doubling and tripling and quadrupling as Gracies. And they're doubled and tripled in mirrors scenes, like in the dress shop. There's the mother-daughter relationship in the dress shop. There's all these successions of patterned, abuse that we all know. Like every woman, I venture to say every woman who watches that dress shop scene understands that scene.